Ever feel like you're talking past someone?
Like you're speaking two different languages.
Yeah, even though you're using the same word.
Totally.
Happens all the time.
Well, today's deep dive might just hold the key to cracking that code. We're diving into the mind-bending world of Ludwig Wittgenstein,
Oh, Wittgenstein. A legend.
the philosopher who really shook things up, completely changed how we think about language.
Yeah, he wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo, that's for sure.
So Wittgenstein, he had these two main phases in his work.
Two phases.
Yeah, like two movements in a symphony. First, he publishes his Tractatus Logico-Philosophicus.
Catchy title.
Right. In it, he basically argues that language, at its core, is like a picture of the world.
Language is a picture. Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's a really fascinating idea. He's saying sentences. They're not just like random words thrown together.
There's a deeper structure there.
Exactly. Wittgenstein argues that they represent actual facts in the world.
So like a map.
Exactly like a map. If the map is accurate, it mirrors the territory. Right, it's a representation.
And that's how he saw language.
A tool to connect us to reality, logically.
Precisely. So each sentence, we're trying to capture a little piece of reality.
Ambitious.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Definitely ambitious. And it makes you think, what are the limits of that representation?
Right, because Wittgenstein, he went on to say, and this is a famous one, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world.
Whoa.
That's a powerful thought. Makes you wonder, if a language doesn't have a word for a specific concept, can those speakers even grasp that idea?
Yeah, that's a question that's haunted philosophers for years. Are we trapped by our language?
Right. It's almost like we're stuck inside the picture. But Wittgenstein wasn't content to leave it at that.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. His later work took an even more interesting turn.
Can't wait to hear about this.
It's a real head-scratcher, but in a good way.
Well, don't leave us hanging. So this is where things get really interesting. Wittgenstein, he starts to move away from that whole language as a picture idea.
Oh, really? I was kind of getting used to that analogy. It's a good one. But Wittgenstein, he was never one to just settle.
So where did he go next?
Well, he started talking about something he called language games.
Language games. Okay, that sounds a lot less, I don't know, serious than the Tractatus.
Right, like suddenly we're going to pull out Monopoly or something.
Exactly.
But of course, Wittgenstein being Wittgenstein, it's not that simple. He wasn't talking about actual games, not in the traditional sense.
Okay, so what did he mean by language games?
Well, he used this idea to kind of explain how the meaning of words, it's not like this fixed thing. It's not like a dictionary definition is the be-all and end-all.
Right. Words can have multiple meanings. Context matters.
Exactly. And more than that, the meaning comes from how we use the words in different situations. Like, think about how we follow different rules when we're talking to different people or about different things.
Okay, I think I see what you mean. Like, the way I talk to my boss is totally different from how I talk to my best friend.
Right. Or the way you talk at a funeral versus at a party. Completely different vibe, different expectations.
So each of those situations, those are like different language games.
Precisely. Different rules, different goals, different ways of using language to communicate. And here's the thing, most of the time we switch between these games without even realizing it.
It's like breathing or something. We just do it.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really interesting, because Wittgenstein argued that a lot of the time when we have misunderstandings or arguments, it's because we're playing different language games without even realizing it.
Ooh, that makes a lot of sense.
We might think we're on the same page because we're using the same words, but those words could mean totally different things depending on the game we're playing.
Okay, so we've gone from language as a picture of the world to language as a game. It's a lot to wrap your head around.
It is, but it's also super relevant, even today.
That's what I'm wondering, like, why should we care about these language games? What's the takeaway for, say, someone really into artificial intelligence?
Oh, perfect example. Because this is where Wittgenstein, even though he was writing decades ago, he becomes surprisingly relevant to stuff like AI and even just like online debates and stuff.
Really? How so?
Well, think about it. A lot of the debate around AI ethics hinges on, how can we define ethics in a way that a machine can understand it?
Right, like, can you program ethics?
Exactly. And Wittgenstein would say, well, maybe that's the wrong question to ask, because ethics itself is a language game. What's ethical in one context might be totally different in another.
So it's not as simple as just having a set of rules.
Nope. Not even close.
Huh. So it's like We're always playing a different game depending on the situation, and we need to be aware of that.
Exactly, and that's what makes communication so tricky.
This kind of reminds me of Wittgenstein's, what is it, the beetle in a box thing.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
It's like we all have these boxes, and we say there's a beetle inside, but we can't actually see into each other's
You
boxes.
have our own beetle.
Right, so maybe what I call a beetle is totally different from what you call a beetle.
Or maybe your box is even empty.
Whoa. Okay, so meaning isn't just this, like, internal thing we each have. It's created through our interactions.
Exactly. It's about how we use words publicly in these language games. It's like the rules of the game determine the meaning.
Wow. This really changes how I think about, well, everything, honestly.
Right. It's a total mind shift.
So to sum it all up, from picturing the world with language to playing these ever-changing language games, it seems like the big takeaway is that meaning is fluid, right?
Absolutely. It's fluid, it depends on context, and ultimately it's something we create together.
Through these language games we play every day.
Exactly. And with that thought, we'll leave you to ponder, what language games are you playing today?
And who are you playing them with? Think about it.
Until next time.